we identified that there's not a Deliveroo in the home services sector, there's not a Moonpig in the home services sector, and we are unique within our sector as that brand.
I'm Alex Epstein, and this is Field Service Stories, brought to you by BigChange. Today, I'm joined by Matthew Powell, founder of amazing home care services brand WarmZilla. Thank you, Matthew, for travelling all the way from Swansea and joining me here today. It's great to have you. The main purpose of today is we want to talk about your amazing journey of building WarmZilla from scratch into the amazing business and brand it is today. Tell me about WarmZilla. Tell me about your story.
Well, thanks very much for having me. Also, thanks to BigChange for putting this on. It's a fantastic experience, so thank you. So WarmZilla, what are we? We are a online disruptor brand in the home services world. We offer customers around the UK. We cover every UK postcode. The option to be able to purchase a new boiler or home care plan, EV charger, at 3 o'clock in the morning if they choose to, because it doesn't have to be any human interaction. We've been very successful with it. There's a lot of customer satisfaction, and we are pushing on further to offer more services like repairs and aircon and those things in the future. So yeah, that's what WarmZilla actually is in a nutshell.
You're an online-only brand, and your main business is boilers and boiler installation.
Yes, so the core business is boiler installations. So basically how it works with boiler installations is that the old and previous sort of way to purchase a boiler was checking in the yellow pages or checking from a friend on the pub and saying, do you know anybody, or look someone up, and then you would invite them round maybe 2 weeks after you even made the first contact, and give them a price on a pen and paper. There's the price, I'll be back in another 2 weeks. So it can be up to like 4 weeks sometimes for the traditional method. So how we have worked it is that we've got a survey online which basically covers the whole human interaction of being in a home. It was created by obviously myself and my brother Reese, who are gas engineers and qualified plumbers as well. And once you complete the survey, you see a boiler package which suits your home and suits your needs. You select it, you click your preferred installation date, then you check out, either paying in one go or through a finance method, and then we just turn up and install, and that's how it works.
Because we live in a different age now. I mean, I'm old enough that I remember dial-up internet. I remember at high school when we first got the internet. Now, I can get anything I want on demand. I order an Uber, it just turns up. I go on my phone, I want a takeaway, I deliver. I get a takeaway from Deliveroo. There's not much these days I can't get same day or within the hour through my smartphone. So it sounds like you're trying to sort of deliver that same always-on, sort of on-demand experience, but for boilers.
Yeah, absolutely. That was sort of the methodology at the start. Our sort of sector is very vanilla, very expensive, and people only realise that there's something wrong when they're in a cold shower, for example. So the methodology was, how do we make this sector more exciting, more colourful, more memorable, and less stressful when you come to pay a £3,000 bill, for example. And that's how we created it. We identified that there's not a Deliveroo in the home services sector, there's not a Moonpig in the home services sector, and we are unique within our sector as that brand, and that's what we'll be pushing on, and providing customers with that couple of flicks of their thumb on their phone to purchasing a new boiler like you would purchasing an Indian takeaway, for example.
I was looking at your LinkedIn profile and I found it really very interesting. So the first thing I saw on your LinkedIn profile is that you got 5 Cs at GCSE. You never did any education beyond your GCSEs at high school. Tell us about that.
I did.
Oh, you did?
But it was a bit embarrassing, the grades. So I failed them all. So I'm very interested in physics. I'm very interested in other subjects. However, when I tried them, I had U's in my
Yeah.
A-levels, so I didn't actually finish the A-levels. But I was just interested in the class.
Yeah.
I was never interested in getting the grades. I know that sounds a bit strange, but yeah. With my education, I should never have been in school past 13, 14.
Right.
I should have been allowed to go out on the tools, or, you know, I've got a lot of energy, I've got a lot of ideas, and I should have just been pushed out to be one of those people who goes out, I'm a grafter. I'm like my mother, she's a grafter. My father's quite intelligent in the brains, although he's no longer with us. But yeah, that's really my education. I struggled through school.
So you got your work ethic from your parents?
Yeah, so my father was very slow and steady, have a think, and my mother's a grafter. You know, even now at the age of 64, if I asked her to come and graft for a day, she'd be on. So yeah, that's where I get my sort of work ethic from. I've worked since I was 5 years old in ice cream vans.
Right.
Out my summer holidays, I'd be working all the time. So
Yeah.
I've never not worked.
Yeah. So if we just dig into that a little bit, I see that if we go all the way back to September 2004, you were a self-employed plumber. So you were someone who started on the tools. Did you start as an apprentice?
Yeah, so I started as an apprentice when I was 19, but I was also in the fire brigade for 7 years as well. So I was working nights in the fire brigade and days as an apprentice plumber. So I joined the fire brigade just past 19, which was a bit young. So once I qualified as a plumber, I had a little car with all my pipe going in the back, no power steering, it was a nightmare, and I zipped to different jobs. And then once I started earning decent money, I then got a van and went on from there. Action Plumbing Solutions, it was very successful. We were doing between about 10 and 15 jobs a day at such a young age, and it was all to do with turning up on time, providing the customer with a decent price, and answering the phone to the customer rather than, you know, veering off when you've taken the job.
So we could say you sort of cut your teeth in that early business. That early business experience, you understood the fundamentals of making customers happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I get making customers happy from my grandparents. So my grandparents, as I say, had a lot of ice cream vans around the Swansea area, and my grandfather always taught me, he had a rag, like a wet rag, and after every ice cream he'd serve, he'd make me wipe the van inside, giving that customer the front-facing sort of, this van's clean, you need to buy off this van, not that van.
Right.
Also, another bit of a convoluted story, but my grandmother used to scrub the outside of her flat. The steps. And I always used to say to her, why are you doing this? And she said, Matthew, she said, when people come to my home, it's the first thing they see.
Yeah.
So my home's the same. You know, it's immaculate outside because first impressions count.
Absolutely.
And that's where I learned the fundamentals from.
Yeah. No, I've seen many photos of people in Manchester, like historical photos of people scrubbing their steps.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so that was Action Plumbing. And then you then sort of made the leap, and I can see here, so Action Plumbing from 2004 to 2012, and then in 2012 you started Heat Source Wales. So what was that all about, and why the change?
So my dad passed away.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
No, that's okay. In December 2011, and I thought, oh, maybe now's the time to go a bit more national. So Action Plumbing was doing fantastically well, so I brought that into Heat Source Wales to go a little bit more across South Wales and into sort of Mid Wales and into the Bristol area and eventually into Gloucester. So we covered all that area with Heat Source Wales. It was basically just to go up that notch again because of the way my brain works. I've always got to try and go up. And it was very successful. It's still live today in a dormant sort of area.
Yeah.
Because again, it's one of my babies. So yeah.
How important was it, the fact that you started on the tools?
I think in anything, you've got to start at the bottom My job basically when I was an apprentice was sticking my hand down toilets with black bags and cleaning up, arranging the van. I think in any sector, I think you need to learn the fundamentals and the basics. And if you don't learn those, I'm not quite sure how you can, deliver it to people when you're at the top. Do this, do that, when you don't experience it yourself.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, in my opinion.
So in the days when you were starting Heat Source Wales, field service management software, job management software, our industry was in its infancy.
Yes.
And software systems like BigChange were the preserve of really big businesses. How did you run a business back then without a piece of software like BigChange?
So with Action Plumbing Solutions, it was basically a diary, a pen, and an atlas map.
Right.
So when you're driving through South Wales, there's a lot of, rabbit warren roads, which can be difficult on a map.
Yeah.
So that was initially how we did that. Then with Heat Source Wales, my wife come on board, so she was more of a sort of arranging things and saying, go here, go there, putting the diary in order. Again, another fundamental.
Right, yeah.
Quickest routes, etc. She was fundamental to that kind of working as well. And yeah, it was pretty tricky, but we knew nothing else. So,
were you working with what's your brother's name? Sorry,
my brother's name's Reese.
So were you working with your brother Reese at that point?
Yeah. So Reese was 33 on Saturday. So I'm 41, so he's like 8 years younger.
Oh, we're the same age.
Yeah. So he came on board when Heat Source Wales was created.
Yeah.
And he learnt the trade. He learnt to be a plumber, then a gas engineer, and he worked alongside me. And he learnt the fundamentals that way, the hard way as well, same as me.
In September 2017, you launched WarmZilla. How did that come about? Tell me about where did the idea come from for WarmZilla?
So September 2017 is when the idea really started with WarmZilla. So it was a bit of an overlay from Heat Source Wales, an overlap, sorry. The idea came like 10 years previous. I was seeing things going online. There was other companies which were dipping their toe in online. And I thought back then, well, this is potentially going to be the future. When my dad, passed away and we went a bit more national, I always knew then that the next step would be going online in some respect. So
you could see where the market was going to go.
Yes, it was. But the problem that online companies have got is you've got the solution here, the online solution, and then you've got the solution here, which is the service field operators. How do you bridge the gap online? That's the problem.
Yes.
And that was always the problem. But then I started thinking about it, and then I just started putting it into action in around late 2000, very early stages that was.
In those very early days, did you bootstrap the business to get it started?
No. What I did is that I was looking around at different sort of business names. I was looking around at different IPs. I was looking around at sort of how could I make it more exciting? So I was, still working. I still had vans on the road, but I was dipping my toe in to see how can I make this more exciting, because it's very straightforward to create an online company with no brand. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to try and revolutionize it in a genuine way.
Now, I want to say I absolutely love the fact that you keep talking about WarmZilla as a brand, because I'm a marketeer. I'm passionate about building brands and how you build brands, and building great brands is based on storytelling. And there's not many customers who walk through our doors and talk about building a brand. They often come here and talk about building a business or launching a service, but I can see that you absolutely get this idea of building a brand that stands for something that is disruptive, something that has a personality.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's the initial idea was not to build a boiler business. It was to build a home services brand. And we are well on our way to doing that. As I say, we are unique within the sector with our name and our character, Derek, as you know, and our colour orange, of course. But building a brand is completely different to building a service business. Yes, a service business is part of building the brand, of course it is, but building a brand is trying to get people to buy into the company, the business, and the service rather than providing it. You know, how can we explain to Mrs. Jones through branding that don't bother using anybody else, there's no need, use WarmZilla? How do we do that? And building that brand takes time, a lot of effort, and a lot of clever thinking as well.
Your sector traditionally was incredibly boring. You know, I grew up, I lived with my mum, we had a gas fire and a back boiler, and I remember as a kid, British Gas would come round. One day they taped up that boiler. They said, Mrs. Epstein, you can't use that gas fire anymore, it's dangerous. They condemned it. But I just remember you had a choice of British Gas or, you know, in the UK, there's thousands of businesses you could choose from. But there was never a brand, if you like, a famous brand, something that would be on the tip of your tongue where you think, I need a boiler, you know, where am I going to go? And you're well on your way to creating that kind of experience.
Yeah, well, traditionally, you would call British Gas or you would call one of the sort of perceived larger sort of energy companies to come and resolve your issue. And that's great. You know, British Gas are a fantastic company. There's nothing wrong with them. They've done fantastically well. However, moving forward into the future, the Gen Zs of the world, shall we say, they are looking for the Deliveroo of your sector. They are looking for the app. They are looking for that brand they can resonate with, that brand that they can tap a couple of clicks with or swipe. And that is what we are sort of moving towards. You know, we're not a boiler company, we're a home services brand. We want to make any home, however big or small, smarter and more efficient, and help people get home services done quicker with less stress.
So the name WarmZilla, the thing that strikes me about the name WarmZilla, it's incredibly memorable. It's so sticky. So I've known about your business for a while. I've never met you before. But from the very moment somebody mentioned that we were working with WarmZilla, I'm like, wow, that sounds different. We don't have many customers with a name like WarmZilla. Tell us about the name and why you chose that name and what it meant, you know, where that came. What was your thought process behind the name WarmZilla?
Well, I do all my thinking when I'm driving round. Strangely, all my ideas come when I'm driving. So I'll go out for a random drive, or I'll drive somewhere and then I'll start thinking. And I wanted a name which was a bit more modern than the usual sort of home services brand. It had a little bit of like Zilla on the end, a bit of hip, a bit different. I typed it in Google, many names in Google, and I said, once I get a name which Google doesn't recognize, then that's going to be the name. And with WarmZilla, Google, it actually come back with WormZilla. So I knew then that was the name, because if Google doesn't recognize it, then you're on a winner. So
you had a chance to create something unique, to own a name that you could own. You could own the IP. Sounds unique. It's distinctive.
Sort of, yeah. We've got competitors in the market where they've got their names. Other companies have got their names, whether it be in different countries, whether it be different sectors. And I think it's important when you're building a brand to be very unique. And it's the starting point of building a brand. You know, you can't start a brand with someone else's name and they're using it for something else. It doesn't make any sense. So that's why I created it.
Normally, you know, historically, a company that installs boilers might be called, I don't know, Arnold and Sons, or, you know, E.J. Smith Plumbers. This is really very different. So no, absolutely love it. It's genius.
And there's nothing wrong with, you know, sort of Matthew Powell Plumbing.com, but that's a plumbing company.
Sure. This is a home services brand.
Yes.
And absolutely, it's totally different. Who is this here? So once again, you've got a mascot, you've got a character. It's distinctive. I've seen it once, and having seen your character once, I'll never forget it. It's it's lovable, it's funny. Tell me about your brand mascot.
So when I created WarmZilla, again, I'm not aware of any mascot within the home services sector. And basically, when I created WarmZilla and Derek is his name, together,
Derek.
we wanted something which people would remember and we can play on. I always knew at some point, which has been in the last 6 months, that we'd split WarmZilla and Derek up. So Derek is sort of the class clown on social, and WarmZilla is the serious brand.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at all the biggest brands in the UK, like Marks and Spencer, I believe, and other brands, they've had to purchase a character in, or they've had to bring one in.
Yeah.
You know, I started with a character for this reason that Duolingo is the perfect sort of brand. You know, it's an owl, I believe, like a green owl.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is what Duolingo is. And sort of like, if you're going to if you want to generate memorable things, you've got to have memorable assets.
Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. This is a very memorable asset.
Yeah.
So Derek gives you creative license. It gives your brand an avenue where you can be playful.
Yes, so we've got WarmZilla, the brand name. We've got the colour orange, which is like not unique to us, but it's very WarmZilla. And then we've got Derek, so we've got 3 assets that we play on. But Derek opens the fun element, the door. It opens that door to, yes, we can be a bit silly here, but we're very, very serious here. So whereas most brands in our sector, well, nearly all of them have got to be quite serious, you know, Derek doesn't really need to be serious because, you know, it's okay for him to be a bit funny.
But what's interesting is, here's a question actually. At any one time, how many people in the UK are looking for a new boiler?
I think on average is 1.6 million boilers purchased a year in the UK. But I believe that's inclusive of sort of social housing and other sectors, new builds. The market is still quite strong in relation to gas boilers, so there's lots of people looking. But there is sort of, we've created different arms to the business, like home cares and things like that, because our eventual sort of end result is to be able to, once we bring a customer on board, we want them to stay for their home services life with us. So say that's 10 to 15 years, you know, people change everything in that time. So we want that customer to use WarmZilla for their, everything within the roof and the walls, we'd like them to use us for it, and that's what we're pushing for.
But the clever thing with your character and your name and the fact that you're building a home services brand is, at any one time in marketing, we talk about this idea that at any one time, only about 5% of your possible customers are actually in market looking for something. But when you have a memorable brand, when they do need a boiler, there's a good chance you're going to be one of the first brands that pops into their mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about touch points. So with any marketing sort of ploy, it is about touch points. So 7 to 8 touch points to purchase. And by, you know, sort of creating Derek and getting him out there in different aspects, it's a touch point. And it's all about brand awareness and front of mind from when that customer actually needs your service. And as I say, some of our competitors or other companies within our sector, they have got to spend a lot of money to be front of mind. We believe that with our assets that we won't have to spend much compared to our competitors to be front of mind because of the memorable aspect of it.
Sure. So we're going to watch a couple of your TV ads, actually, and we'll sort of include these. So no, really love this. And you brought Derek to life in your TV ads. Just before we look at the TV ads, I noticed you've got 1,755 ratings on Trustpilot, and you are rated as excellent, which is outstanding. You know, I looked around within your industry. It's not easy to get, you know, 87% of your reviews, you know, 5 stars. Incredible.
The most important part of that, and thank you very much for the compliment, but so obviously having a 4.8 out of 5 excellent with that many reviews is pretty impressive. But the most important part about it is we've replied to 100% of our negative reviews. So that is great, but that is more important. So we reply to every negative review. which means we care.
Yeah.
So it's okay having a good, an excellent Trustpilot rating or excellent, review rating, but we care about the customers who are unhappy too.
And in 2024, it's impossible to run a business without online reviews. There is true transparency now in the market. If somebody isn't happy, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to post to Facebook, to X, they're going to post a video on Instagram about their experience. And that's only happened in the last sort of 10, 20 years.
Yeah, it has. And it can be quite difficult because some customers, instead of coming to us first and airing their views to us, they'll air them to everybody, which is their right. And we've got no problem doing that, and that's great. But it can be quite difficult. And we do wish the customers would come to us first to give us that opportunity, like every other online company. But it can be fairly tricky at times,
Yeah. So let's watch one of these amazing WarmZilla TV ads.
WarmZilla make it easy to find the right boiler for your home. You just click through our online survey, pick the perfect boiler, and we'll fit it. All online, stress-free. It feels good to know your boiler's sorted. So when your boiler's on your mind, remember the orange dinosaur. Visit warmzilla.co.uk. Click, pick, and we'll fit your perfect boiler.
So it's simple, very distinctive, and you talked about the importance of the colour orange in making yourself, you know what I mean? You own that colour within your space.
Yeah, so we had some very, very good help with this through a company called Passion Media.
Right, okay.
And there is another company called the Growth Foundation who were very, very good and helpful with it. What we wanted to do is get WarmZilla out there and get the impressions. So this had, when it's been on TV, it's had about 150 million impressions.
Wow.
We've been on sort of ITV, Sky, all the big channels, all the ones you'd expect.
Yeah.
And we wanted to get three things across, which were obviously Derek, our name, and the colour orange. We work very closely and in partnership with Worcester Bosch as well, as you can see that in the background. But what we wanted to do is put like a subliminal message into people's brains. So if you read the question, it says, how would you describe your current boiler? So it's putting that message into the customer saying, well, how is my boiler? And then, let's check WarmZilla, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, with the ad, it was a fun day. It does what it says on the tin, and it's been very successful.
Sure. There's not many of our customers that advertise on TV. That's quite a unique thing for a younger business. How has TV advertising worked for you?
It's been an eye-opener in the respect of you expect, because you're on TV, you think you've made it, you think everything's going to roll in, but in reality, TV is more brand awareness, front of mind. I've had a lot of people, sort of like my mortgage advisor, for example, phone me up and say, I just seen you on Dave. Or somebody else, I said, oh yeah, we're on TV, yeah, I've seen your orange advert. But it's kind of like a sticking point in people's mind from when they are ready. Going on TV and expecting direct sales straight away, it's just not going to happen. But yeah, it's been an eye-opener.
Well, that's right. Most people watching Dave or watching ITV, most people don't need a boiler in that moment. But what you're attempting to achieve is to create that level of awareness when they are in that buying situation and they do need a boiler. You're the brand that sort of pops up into their mind.
Yeah.
So was this the most recent campaign that you did?
We've got this was the first advert we did.
Oh, actually, I think this is perhaps a more recent one.
Yeah.
This is a metaphor to show you that WarmZilla cover boilers. Our expert engineers will fix your boiler if it breaks and service it to keep it safe and well. All from only £8.58 per month. Get your boiler off your mind at warmzilla.co.uk. Tablecloth not included.
Is he actually one of your engineers or is he an actor?
He might be an engineer. He might be an actor. No, he's an actor.
He's an actor, right.
Yeah, he used to work in the solar industry, so he has got a bit of experience within sort of the trade. But yeah, this advert was a bit of fun as well. We enjoy doing this one. But yeah, this was more for boiler cover because we quickly identified that just boiler installations alone isn't going to sort of make WarmZilla into a home services brand. We need some kind of like recurring revenue. And, so basically when people take home cover out with you, as long as you provide them with the service, they'll have a boiler off you eventually, or most will. So, but that was a great success, that TV advert as well. It's a bit of fun and it's very WarmZilla.
So how did WarmZilla come together? Because you talked about building a great website, building that fantastic interactive experience where you can be matched to the perfect boiler for you. You've got your online presence, you've got your sort of online lead generation, but then you've got to run an operation. You've got to get the right engineer to the right place at the right time with the right parts and the right tools. How did you make that happen?
So very difficult, first of all. So when we first built WarmZilla, it was a bespoke system. So our sort of field management system was bespoke built. Very basic. It worked, but it was not scalable. So 2 years ago, we completely restructured our tech and our software. It's an amalgamation of many sort of platforms. And we've potentially got the best tech in the home services business. It's scalable beyond your wildest dreams. But what we did, we introduced BigChange into the mix. We had a look at different softwares which were decent, but not quite scalable to the way we wanted. Your sort of API integration, sort of the wording, our devs said, this is the software. We can do what we want with it. We can change it. We can really make it WarmZilla. And that's what really provides us with our reliable field software. So it's very reliable in the sense that we can build forms on there and things like that. So we've got control of the installation from afar. And that's really a big part of what we do. We've got a massive subcontractor network. So we've introduced BigChange to the subcontractor network. They understand now how it works. They like it. There's not much negative feedback. There's always going to be some. But yeah, that's how we really went out as an operational. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
So with BigChange, you've been able to sort of manage the customer experience from beginning to end when it comes to your sort of installations and your scheduling.
Absolutely. Reliability in the home services sector is missing from a lot of companies. We know when we wake up in the morning that app is going to work. Those forms are going to be on there. When the engineer completes the tasks on the form, which we have bespoke built, that we are going to be able to view the job, okay the job, tick the job off, get the engineer paid. Without we would be able to do it without BigChange, but it makes it a lot easier.
So it makes everything, yeah, absolutely. Is there anything you can share about the growth of WarmZilla? I'm sure not all of this is in the public domain, but is there anything you can share in terms of how quickly you've grown, how many employees you've got, how your turnover has grown? Is there anything you can share?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm just a small cog in a big wheel in WarmZilla. Our staff are fantastic. They really have bought into the brand. They understand where it's going. We've been through some dodgy times and we've all pulled together and we've all just carried on. That's first and foremost. So second, for me, without my family, especially my wife, this isn't possible. I give up 2 years of my sort of life to build WarmZilla. And it's not just going to work the 12, 15 hours a day. You work when you're home on weekends. So you've got to have a strong family unit as well. But with the growth, we're a multi-million-pound turnover company. It happened very quickly, and we continue to go on and on and on by adding different arms to the business, etc. And what a lot of people don't know when building an online tech business, because that's what really it is that you've got to have people buying into the brand. You can subcontract work out until the cows come home, but if they don't understand the brand and believe in it and believe in the vision that I create, then it's not impossible to do. So it's not all. It's you've got to have good staff. Got to have good staff.
So how many staff do you have now?
There's 10 of us all together.
Yeah.
Because of our tech stack and how smoothly our systems run, we don't need many staff.
So that's really interesting. So with BigChange and the other pieces of kit that make up your tech stack, you're able to run an incredibly lean operation.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the best in the business. We don't need many staff to run the systems; they run themselves. As I say, like with BigChange, for example, that one piece of software takes care of thousands of subcontractors. So there's one piece of software there which runs 365, 24 hours a day, all the time. But yeah, it's so lean, it's so efficient, and it's been built so well. We are just sort of peeking in and managing the software rather than anything else.
So because your subcontractors get their jobs through BigChange, that enables you to manage the experience and deliver a really consistent process, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. So our operational department with customer service, because the software is run, so because although BigChange is very good in its basic form, we've actually built it bespoke internally because you're able to do that with BigChange.
Yeah.
And if you put time and effort into it, you can build it into what you want, to sort of like be your business. And that's what we've done. So it enables customer service to concentrate on the customer rather than the subcontractor network. So for every job that we do through BigChange, it's audited. We check the pre and the post satisfaction notes, which we've created, the pictures, before we tick it off, and it's a 5-10 minute job because the software is so reliable that it's very easy what we do, and it's quite unbelievable that it's 10 of us and we're a multi-million-pound company.
Incredible.
It's quite unbelievable, but it's genuinely that's what we are.
So I can see you started WarmZilla with the focus on. So actually, I have a question for you. I need a boiler fast. How quickly can I get my hands on one of your boilers?
So if you took your phone out now or your device in front of you and went on the WarmZilla website, completed the survey, and you did it in one go, you could probably do it in under 5 minutes and purchase. And we have installed boilers on the same day before.
Which is bonkers.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the quickest we can do it is within 24 hours.
Sure.
But we like to do it in 48 hours. And
right.
The reason for that is that customers advertise 24 hours, but it's hard to get. We want to give the customer an experience, a home services experience. We could easily say, yeah, we'll do it in 24 hours, but we want them to have an experience. If they're desperate, we will. But we want them to go through the process of, meeting our customer service through emails, through the phone. Do you need anything? Here's some advice on what you can expect on the day. This is what's going to happen on the day. This is what's going to happen afterwards. That can't be rushed. And
yeah, I mean, you're going to live with that boiler for the next 10,
exactly.
20 years.
Investment.
It's an investment, isn't it? So in a way, you want to make sure your customers are making the right choice, the right boiler for them and their property.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important that when we are installing essentially a gas bomb in somebody's house, because that's what it is. It's filled with gas and it ignites. Safety is paramount, first and foremost, for the homeowner.
Absolutely, yeah.
And rushing safety jobs ends up in disaster and eventually. And we want to do it in a constructive, safe, good experience for the customer.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed on your website is you're not, so obviously boiler service, you offer a service for landlords, but now you've diversified, so things like the home cover give you a way to make some recurring revenue, but I can see you're now offering things like EV chargers. So how are you diversifying, and how is diversification important in the future of WarmZilla?
So just going back a step here, so we've recently launched this new nav bar. So about 2 weeks ago, this wasn't here. So the guy's done an excellent job of designing it and making it very user-friendly, as you can see. It's very, very important to WarmZilla to be able to have different arms to the business, because essentially one comes off the other. So new boiler servicing, home cover, potential EV charger, maybe solar one day, aircon. It's all home services, heating, ventilation, repairs, etc. So it's very important for WarmZilla to keep building those backbone sort of services coming in, so that we can keep improving as a company and providing quicker services, safer services, just a better experience all around. So yeah, in short, like bringing EV charge on is just a natural progression for the company, and we just continue to do that moving forward.
Amazing. If you read some of the articles in the press, allegedly heat pumps, are booming in the UK. Is that true? Are heat pumps booming? What's happening with heat pumps right now?
I don't think they're booming. I think they are miles away from booming, if I'm honest with you. I respect heat pumps or any technology that is going to make the planet greener and help save people money. However, being an experienced installer myself, I think we need to get over the hurdle of how are we going to install them in homes, which is yet to be proven or shown. It's a fantastic technology. Even with the grants, they're very expensive. Your home has got to be perfectly or near perfectly insulated and things like that for you to get the maximum benefits out of them. I'm all for heat pumps, but I think we are a long way away for them being the norm. In my opinion, they need to be taught in the nursery of primary schools now, because I think that generation will be the generation in 30 years' time. Not against heat pumps, I'm just realistic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned to you, I've just come back from living in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands are a few years ahead in every possible sense. I see lots of heat pumps in use in residential areas. They've got a massive electric car infrastructure. Practically every street has, publicly available electric charging points. Here in the UK, we're not there yet, are we?
We are miles away from it. Now, you've got sort of the larger companies promoting heat pumps in the next big thing, and potentially they are. I've got nothing against that, nothing wrong with it. But we're missing the fundamental part of this, and is the labour, the workforce.
Yeah.
Who is going to push these heat pumps in to people's homes? How are people going to, say a gas boiler breaks down. You say your gas boiler breaks down today, you're not going to have a heat pump installed for at least 4 to 6 weeks in your home. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's a bit quicker, but by the time you get a surveyor round, in my opinion, it's miles away from heat pumps. And that's just my opinion.
As we read through the plumbing and heating magazines and across all the sectors we serve, so whether it's the drainage industry, utilities, HVAC, plumbing, everyone we talk to, our customers, they talk about the skill shortage in the UK, that it's so hard to get your hands on fantastic, qualified, professional engineers. Does that hurt WarmZilla? How do you find that? How do you find the right talent? How do you find the right talent and then keep it in your business?
So with WarmZilla, because we believe that we are the next home services Gen Z brand, we believe that we can potentially excite up and coming sort of primary, secondary school pupils to become a WarmZilla installer or get excited about WarmZilla as a brand, because we want to push the home services sector into that new age brand. And nobody wants to work for a boring company. One is perceived boring, whether they're boring or not. And that's an angle which we are speaking to manufacturers about at the moment, and how we can sort of get into the minds of the younger generation and say, come on, come and be a plumber, come and be a gas engineer, electrician. You know, it's not all boring, it's not all doom and gloom. You can get paid well, you can manage your own diaries, and you can work for companies like WarmZilla. And I don't think companies like British Gas, with respect to them, are going to be able to give that same feel.
So with your business model, you know, you tap into this amazing network of over 500 warm stallers, as you call them. That gives you the flexibility to sort of tap into a wide talent pool.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got fantastic subcontractors. They're great. Very rarely do we have a job that's not up to standard. They enjoy working for us. We give them benefits. We really try and take care of them, because, you know, in reality, where very large companies have failed is they've got all the traffic coming into their website, but they can't manage a subcontractor network. So without our subcontractor network, WarmZilla wouldn't exist.
Right.
So we, you know, are constantly putting ourselves out there. You know, we have about 3 to 5 new engineers signing up a week now organically. And we really take care of them. And hopefully that's going to filter down to the younger engineers coming up. And
so what you're saying, Matthew, is unless the industry attracts young Gen Z people, or even at the primary school level, unless we actually get into primary schools, unless we've got to make these career options attractive to people at a very young age, is what it sounds like you're saying, to get fresh talent into the industry.
Absolutely. You know, it's no. We need to educate children young on what technologies they can expect in their home. Now, in secondary schools, you're never taught what a boiler is, how to get a mortgage, all the basics in life, how to cook food on a basic level. And I believe that if the greener technologies really want to take hold, then it's the children, it's the adults of tomorrow that really need the education, and their eyes need to be open to the world a lot earlier on really things that are really important. You know, iPads and computers are very important, but, you know, let's get some greener education into their heads as well.
Yeah, no, super interesting. So in 2024, how do you delight a customer in 2024? You've talked about that your audience is Gen Z. So for the benefit of our viewers, how do you define Gen Z? Because we keep talking about Gen Z. So who is this Gen Z customer that WarmZilla exists to serve?
Well, sort of Gen Z is where we are sort of pointing towards, but our customers are, you know, of an older age as well. You can read a lot of this on the internet, but Gen Zs have got a different outlook on the world, and that's fine. We probably had a different outlook then, but the life for younger people has changed. Everything is, I want it now, I want it now, I want it now, I can get it now. So we have to, you know, change our sort of like model slightly over time to be able to facilitate what people want. Now, people want things yesterday in this world now, and we've got to be, you know, agile enough to be able to change for that. So when we point towards them, we've got to ensure that our systems are ready to take that, I want it now, and they are there, but we can always improve them a bit more.
So ultimately, we're living in this age now where, in the olden days, so to speak, you would ring a plumber or a home services company or a gas fire business. You'd start talking about a boiler, and that process would take 4 weeks. You would probably open the yellow pages. I mean, God, I used to do that when I was a kid. You'd go there. You know, I'd use it as a I'd put, you know what I mean? I'd use them as a coffee mat, if you like.
Yeah.
But literally, it was like a Bible. It was your Bible. It was your go-to. If it wasn't in the, if you weren't in the yellow pages, you were nowhere to be seen. So you'd flick through. You would really have to go round the houses, so to speak. You'd have to call up 10 providers. Hopefully you would get through. Hopefully they would return your calls. And as you say, that process could be very slow. You couldn't go on the internet back then and look at boilers. You couldn't go on Worcester Bosch's website and actually learn and watch videos. You would have to wait for somebody to come to your house. It'd take you through everything, and you would go through a very arduous process. Whereas with millennials and Gen Z, you're saying it's all about, I want it now. I want it, I want to choose today. I want to buy tomorrow, and I want it installed the day after.
Yeah, absolutely. The customer of whatever age now has changed from when I was on the tools surveying properties. Customers' expectation levels are a lot higher. Obviously, you've got the cost of living, which is affecting everybody, which people are a bit more savvy with their money and a bit more careful with it as well. And a lot of people, unfortunately, can't even afford a new boiler. So the expectation levels in general are a lot higher. And yeah, it's I want it now, I want it yesterday, and I want it for the cheapest price. And to manage those expectations is phenomenally difficult.
That's super interesting. So a big part of the future of WarmZilla, it's about you anticipating what your customers want and need. How do you keep your ear to the ground, Matthew? You've got review sites like Trustpilot. How else do you really tune in to what your customers want?
So we work with some heavyweight companies like Money Supermarket and these kind of companies who we talk, about different things, about different kinds of customers, what sort of routes these companies are looking at. We check other companies' marketing, what they are doing, within sort of like a similar brand to us then. We do check our competitors, but our competitors aren't like us and not going in that same direction. So if you go on our website and you check our new nav bar, the new nav bar's like an app. So it's a couple of clicks and you can purchase. So we've taken this on board. We do a lot of research into what the next generation are going to want and need, and that is they're not going to take any messing. They're going to want what they want and want it now, as I said before, and that's what we are trying to create in the safest possible way.
Nice, yeah. What are the plans? I mean, from the point of meeting you this morning, even before we started to sort of, chat properly, your story is incredible. You've started on the tools. You've built this multi-million-pound brand. It sounds like the sky's the limit. Where next for WarmZilla? What's your vision? What's your ultimate vision for this business and for this brand?
So our vision is we are releasing boiler repairs, plumbing and heating repairs from early September. So we'll be the first ever completely online Disruptor brand to release heating and plumbing repairs online. We're the first ever to do it. And we're going to be able to provide the UK with those services alongside our other services. And then we're going to look into sort of different home services, potentially air conditioning, solar, heat pumps if possible. Nothing against heat pumps, but just trying to work out how that actually works. But the ultimate goal would be in the US. It would be nice eventually. That is a dream of mine. That is something completely different. It's a different animal. But the eventual end goal would be in the US, because I own everything about it in the US, the trademark for renewables, for smart home, for boilers, aircon, everything. So that is the eventual dream for WarmZilla, because we are kind of a US kind of brand as well.
Yeah.
It would work well, and we think the Americans would love Derek.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could see them being all over this. Let's talk for a second about leadership. You started on the tools as a plumber. you're an entrepreneur, you've built several businesses. How have you gone from being a good leader to being a great leader? How have you sort of had to develop your leadership skills, as an entrepreneur and businessman?
By making loads of mistakes. Some people are natural leaders. Well, you've got the basic of being a natural leader. No one is a leader overnight and then can lead anything. Through many mistakes, and I'll never be the finished article. I'm always learning. I'm always learning off new people who come to the business, outside the business. I take little bits. Oh, that was good. I really thought that was cool. I really thought this lady dealt with that very well. I'm always taking this information in and adding it to my resume. But over the years, dealing with different types of people has been quite difficult. But especially in this day and age, it's very difficult to deal with people because life is hard. Life has gone faster because of social media, and people's brains are different now. Social media, the internet has all unlocked people's brains like they were never before. You could used to predict what someone's going to be like, but now you can't. People have got a lot more problems. So being a leader is a constant learning from your mistakes route, which you'll never accomplish because the world's changing all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I read in a previous case study, I read somewhere that you mentioned that with BigChange, it had made you 50% more productive. So is that true?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if not more, to be honest with you. It's drastically improved. Like, reliability in home services is everything. If you're going to tell Mr. or Mrs. Jones you're going to be there at 8 o'clock, I would never tell any other engineer to say you're going to be there at 8 o'clock. It's always between 7:30 and 8:30 because you always give the hour traffic. Then you're there. And it's the same with software for a home services sort of company. Reliability is everything. And when we wake up in the morning, you can rely on the BigChange software. So just that alone has drastically improved our sort of output. And the more and more we improve it, because we keep making it more bespoke and more bespoke and more bespoke, we just need enough staff to make sure it's working okay, which reduces your costs. And I want to employ staff, and I want to provide employment for people. But in reality, tech is taking over the world, and the people who go with the tech are the people who are going to be successful, in my opinion. And BigChange makes that much more scalable and easier for us to do.
What are the implications of AI in your industry, within your sector, home services? How important is AI in getting the WarmZilla experience right?
I wouldn't trust ChatGPT to give you the correct answer on a gas issue. Put it that way. I'm not saying it won't be correct, but in our sector, especially with gas, AI, don't know if it could be trusted yet because it's still learning. Probably could, but I wouldn't recommend it.
So with AI, the potential's there, but it's not quite ready yet.
It's frightening in our industry because our industry is safety first, and it's not fully tested in our industry yet. So we've used AI in different sort of aspects of the business and tested it out. We on our live chat, we've got enough content on our live chat for the AI bot to run without human interaction ever again, because we've got 5 years worth of live chat content.
So that is AI based. You've got like a live AI chat.
To a certain point,
right?
Because it takes the heavy lifting of the staff. There's no need for our staff to be typing out these things, because our aim is to get the customer. In customer service, for example, and this is where AI is pretty good, is when a customer is paying you something, your job is to take the stress out of their purchase, nothing else. So if we can provide answers and provide an experience a bit quicker with AI and a bit more seamless, that's what we've done. But AI in its entirety, no chance. It'll never be that, in my opinion.
A lot of business owners and a lot of entrepreneurs that I meet, they talk about it being lonely at the top. People like yourself work passionately, you work an extraordinary number of hours. Who looks after you? Who takes care of your mental health? How do you build self-care to make sure that, you're fighting fit, to lead WarmZilla from the front?
Yeah, it's quite a difficult question to answer because there's sort of a number of factors when you're running a business, any size business. It's not big or small. It's any size business because a very small business might be very big to somebody. So, when I've been there, I've been on the tools, I've been in my car, and to me it was massive at the time, and the stress has come there. But for me personally, my wife takes a lot of my heavy lifting because I don't say anything. I'm blank sometimes because my brain is so tired, and that puts strain on certain things. But for me, drinking and things like that is a no-no when you're running a business, a busy business. Going to the gym instead of that is very important to release the natural dopamine into you.
So you train?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I do. I still play football. I do a bit of boxing, learning boxing. Been doing it for a long time, but still learning. And that is my kind of dopamine hit. And then that sort of, resets me. But I hate the phrase, I've had a bad day, I'm going to have a drink, or I need a drink. That is not the way to go. But for me, physical training, no matter how old you are, trying to spend as much time with the family as possible, and that's very difficult being a business owner, but having an out, and just recognizing that it's okay to love business. It's okay to, like myself, I'm busting to go to work in the morning. I love it. It's my hobby. It's not. I don't class it as work. So it's okay to have that hobby. It's okay to love work. It's okay, but just realize you have to look in the mirror and understand that you do need to take care of yourself by going to the gym, by spending a bit of time with your family, and by taking a little break now and again.
Yeah. Have you any favourite places to go on holiday? When you travel, where do you love to travel to?
I like going to new places. I like speaking to locals. I like listening to what they do, how they were brought up. I'm just interested in that kind of stuff. So nowhere in particular, but I really love getting to know different places and how different people were brought up. I got no hair, of course. So as a treat, I get my beard done once every week. And in the barbers, they're from Iraq and Iran. And it was only yesterday when I was getting it done to come up here, we were talking about Iraq and how they were brought up in the Iraq War when the Americans and us went over there, and they were watching it and just interested in that kind of stuff. So yes, I just like going to places where I can learn a bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. Either inside your industry or outside, do you have any mentors? Are there any business people or business leaders that you look up to and turn to, whether it's reading their books or, are there any business stories or business people that you are just, inspired by?
I do read. I watch more videos now, YouTube videos. Inspired by people. When I listened to Elon Musk's story about him sleeping under desks in Tesla, and his employees going past and not owning his own home when he's got 20 million in the bank, and he had 3 companies and he had to split the money between 3 of them, and he knew potentially they're all going to die, taking that risk, and the graft that he's got to where he is, and you can see him crying in interviews. I kind of find that kind of inspiring because I know, like, for me, I'm not Elon Musk, but I understand I don't do it like, I know you need money in this world to get on. That's what they've created for us. But for me, building things, creating things, and seeing the result of it is when I earn my money. And I just look at him and I feel that that's what he does. He builds things to...
He's a builder.
Yeah, he builds things to provide a solution and, you know, essentially change things. And I just love that. But yeah, I read sort of like a lot of things through sort of Richard Harpin from HomeServe.
Amazing
For
story.
For example,
Richard Harpin.
You know, he's done fantastically well in the respect that, you know, he started on a similar path to myself, like a plumber, and, you know, through direct mail, and just grafted until he got what he wanted. And, you know, a lot of respect for him. I got a lot of respect for my competitors. I'm not going to mention them on here, but I got a lot of respect for them all the companies, because to take that leap and to take that risk and to do what we do takes a lot of, you know what. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, I hear sometimes in business, you know, you hear it in movies, you hear it in the workplace, and people talk about, you know, don't be so emotional. And I'm surprised when I hear that, because I've worked in several entrepreneur-started businesses, and it's plain to see, you know, business is personal. It's all about emotion. These businesses are built by people full of emotion. So when I hear people say, you know, don't bring emotion into business, I think that's quite strange. What do you think about that?
I don't understand how you can't be emotional. It's not, you know, people say, oh, it's my baby, like I said earlier, but, you know, in reality, you know, it is your baby. It's like, why, if you're not going to get emotional about something that you're creating or building or putting your passion into, it's like if you're a footballer, you know, if you're not emotional about losing or not emotional about winning, then I don't think those people exist, do they? But it's you have to be emotional about your business, otherwise you're not going to succeed. You know, it's a basic element of being successful, is being emotional at the right times.
Yeah. We're good. So this is my very last point or question for you, Matthew, and it was something we talked about before, actually. If we look at that, there are leaders and business people in the world, and they've got to, you know, privileged positions by climbing up on other people, and they often use this phrase, you know, business is business, and they'll do whatever it takes to make it. Whereas before, you said something a little bit different. You had this view that that era of the belligerent boss has gone, and actually, how important is building real, honest relationships? How important is that?
Yeah.
Why is that now the way compared to the sort of previous way?
I think business is business if you're solely doing it for money. I think there's another way to look at it. In business, everyone needs to help each other as much as they can. Sort of like our competitors, we could help each other a bit more if we wanted to, and really, really push the sector if we wanted to. There's no need to climb that cliff and use someone else's head, or, you know, with your foot to get up a little bit higher than them. There's enough business to go around for everybody. But if you're in business solely for money, then yes. But in my opinion, I do it because I want to build things, create things. The money, lovely, great. But if you can separate yourself from money and create and enjoy what you're doing, your business will flourish, and then the money will come afterwards. So business is business in certain aspects, but for me, it's more about being everyone's friend and climbing the ladder in an orderly queue.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Matthew, for coming all the way from Swansea to join us here for Field Service Stories, powered by BigChange. We wish you, you know, we love working with you at WarmZilla. We want to see WarmZilla continue to go from strength to strength. And, you know, when I go over to the US, I can't wait to see WarmZilla in Texas and California and New York. You've got a great vision. You've built a fantastic brand, which I love as a marketeer. I have huge respect for the quality and you've created something really special. So, from all of us at BigChange, we wish you well and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us. And yeah, without BigChange, we wouldn't be the company we are, and we really appreciate everything you do. And thanks for inviting me today. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.